hello everybody. This is me, Vishwas Naran. Thanks for tuning in. And I know this is a quick intro for HoloLens, but I'm not doing a complete intro for the HoloLens because I'll show you why. Cost of HoloLens. I can say you one thing. It's not this, and there are different pricing options and things like that, so the cost of it is in front of you. So over a course of time, we thought of not giving you that no touch for the HoloLens, but we just really wanted to give you a quick assistance and a quick note for all the things that we are going to do. So let's just start with it. So let's just start with the HoloLens intro so that you guys will get to know, okay, this is what is happening in the world of AR, MR, XR. Like, virtual reality is VR, XR is extended reality, and AR is augmented reality. And over the course of time, we relied on a machine from the beginning. This is an example of a Napier Brown Arcata systems. So this actually is an analog system which simulates the movement of the planets, the sun, the solar system, the entities of the solar system. And this is actually a 32 set of gears which is just working. And it's a purely an analog system. And over a course of time, that analog mindset was always there in us. We still rely on analog computers. ADCs are there. DAC is also still there. Analog to digital computer, digital to analog computer. And over a course of time, we still saw that there is a new requirement for us. And this was also there. There was an abacus. Abacus was already found way more beyond what we can think of the mathematics, like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division was seamlessly going through with just a movement of the beats. And that really meant a lot to us. And we had this bomb. That thing was, it's a very simple thing. Anti-Ketra computer was what I told, and this is the Northern bomb site that we are talking here. And these are some of the computers that we relied on, and they were all analog, and they really seamlessly worked without any sort of a flaw. And to get to know more, I refer to a video from Veritasium. Veritasium is amazing, and that guy is so cool. So you guys can go check it out. That's not a big deal. So now, after we had all this, we still wanted to understand something about an human system. And we just went on and said, hey, how does the brain work? How does we hear? How do we see? How do we understand? How do we smell? How do we think? How do we react? How do we understand our surrounding and draw a conclusion? Like, this is what is happening. And over a course of time, we relied on that thing, but it was extremely complex to be analyzed. So it's too complicated mathematically to draw something as a cognitive bias, to draw something as a more intuitive understanding for a system. So now you can just think of an API which is just moving towards your edge in the spatial computing. We'll also talk about holographic computing as well. So there is a quick understanding that is required that, hey, this is what we need, this is what we have come for, and what next. So now we understand that we are some advanced primates, and now we thought that about it, but some experiences were considered to be God. Okay, how is there a smell? How is there this chemical being so harmful and some of the chemicals being so useful to us today? So anybody couldn't answer it, and they named it as God. Like, you can't experience a volcano, but you wanted to experience a volcano without being hurt. How do we do that? It's a kind of a god that we can talk today. Like, this was a pure definition of it. And so what is mixed reality? Mixed reality is some sort of an interaction that happens between you and your system. So I can give you an example of an Arduino, which is this system, and you just plug it into your system. You have your serial communication which is happening. It's a simple analogy that I can give you. So go to Google, say how to interface a gyroscope with Arduino. You just do that, and you get a set of code, and you get some set of an serial communication going between the system, and you will understand that, hey, this is what is the system all about. So at the end of the day, when you think of a complex system, We are now using a sort of a sensor or an actuator. A sensor is something which measures and which has some output. It can be analog, it can be digital at any given point. So it's all relies on the basic. But now this is a kind of an analog as well as a digital computer that you are dealing with, and you get these kinds of values, and based on these kinds of values you still write your if else statements and things like that. So in this computer I had connected an joystick and had connected one accelerometer. So this is the same thing that you're seeing there as well. So it's a very complex system. It has a lot of MEMS based sensor. What is a MEMS? MEMS microscope. So MEMS is the micro electromechanical system. So it has a simulation of all these. So if you want to really understand what is it all about, so let me just give you a quick intro of it. So 3D model of HoloLens. That's two. So I just had some of the Sketchfab, so let's just go on and check it out. So it takes a little bit of time to load some models. So this is what we are talking. So in the rare hand, there is an holographic processing unit which is being taken care, but still there is gyroscopes, there is cameras, there is infrared sensor, there are distance sensor out there. So meanwhile, when you understand all these kinds of system, they have their own need. And this is what your mixed reality was all about. Mixed reality was all about like how do you maintain that interactability without hindering the surrounding. And it's just a vision that we are going to have. So what we started doing was we just simulated a kind of a vision. So what does a holographic processing do? So let me just go to Google. Holographic processor is here. So HPU is what we consider TPU, GPU, HPU, CPU. Oh, why is this access denied? I don't know why. But if you see HoloLens, it still has an holographic processing unit. So what you see as a computer, it's a computer chipset which is working there in the back end. So this is what is being shown there. So if you want a clear-cut picture of this, so do check it out as holographic processing unit. So main concept of mixed reality was it contains a physical and a digital world, whereas the polar extremes of the spectrum, and this is what your definition is all about. So the polar extreme was all about that interactability that we're talking here. So the mixed reality spectrum is now refers to the range of realities that can be perceived, that can be simulated, that can be as close as a physical system, but can give you a little bit of an experience, but not complete. So this was the definition of it. So let's jump on to the docs. So this is your Bible, can't help it. So let's just talk a little bit of it. So if you see that there is a mixed reality and there is a new way of the following, the PCs, the smartphones, the Microsoft. So basically, when you see such kind of a system, you have to realize that you are just interacting with it with the same old gyroscopes and the things like that, but yet you're programming most advanced ones with your holographic processing units. So the spectrum is always a simple thing. There is a physical world and there's a digital world, and a mixed reality stays behind all these. They grab that information and they just give you in the real world, and that's a simulated world that we're talking. So now if you think of such kind of a system, here you have a system which is designed to give you that kind of an experience which is very close to it but not completely. So you can think of it, there is a compute processing units powered by the cloud, there's an advanced input and output system, this environment and the perceptions that we talk. Lately, if you click on this video, you get an access to the mixed reality where there are concepts like holograms which come in, and there are concepts like reality and the holographic processing with a functioning which are completely different. There are two extreme ends, but now we are trying to combine them together, and this is what your mixed reality was all about. So there's a physical world, there's an digital world. What you're trying to do is trying to augment that physical world through some sort of a digital world information, and that digital world is being augmented and given to you as an experience through some virtual reality experience. So this is what it's all about. So if you think of an HoloLens and a HoloLens 2, so Samsung also has an amazing immersive device. You can go and check it out. But HoloLens is something which is cool because you can program using any of the processing units like Unity. You can still program using the C sharp programming. There's still .NET, which is has all the support. You get that infrastructure, start programming. Man, you have everything to do. So, reaching to that physical reality through a digital world information is what we call as an extended reality. HR is something XR, not HR. It's human resource. I hate you. So augmented reality is always there. So there is always a need for you to move towards that virtual reality first in order to get that digital information. So that digital information can be from your Unity, can be from any sort of an mixed reality element that you're coming up with. So you know that physical world and now you doodle it, cartoonize it, whatever you want. So it's always that. Towards the left is a physical reality. Towards the middle is the mixed reality. You can take the reference of a movie called as Jumanji. Jumanji was completely that only. So here, what it remains. So towards the right, completely digitalizing the world, completely getting an access to it, and now you're moving towards it. That's the best part about it. And there's a physical world simulation. This is what it's all about. So if you want an other fact, we synthesize a lot of pixel. So 3 trillion pixels in Bahubali movie. So if you think of the AMD ripped all the compute instances they had in server. There was a 3.2 trillion pixels that was being generated, and this was actually told by Rajmouli himself. There was 3 trillion pixels generated, and I think there is an amazing guy from AMD GPU architect RDNA. It's a Radeon DNA processing. So there was amazing professionals who I don't have to take names, but you guys can go check out their names from the AMD. Raja Pataudi, Raja Koduri, not Pataudi. Sorry for that. So if you guys can go check it out, Raj Koduri is one of my favorite GPU architects that I ever saw. He has worked with a lot of people. So Raja Koduri is now an Intel. Sorry for that, AMD. So Raja Koduri went out, and amazing people. You guys can go check out their entire story, how they entered the industry and things like that. There was a project with AMD that they did, and it was completely virtual reality that was done through the GPUs and the TPUs that they GPUs and the CPUs that they had done. TPUs only with Google. Sorry for that. So it's all that. So let me enter my full screen. And what's an hologram? What do you have in the virtual reality, in the mixed reality, or the augmented reality is still an hologram. Hologram is a technology that allows you to record and reconstruct a wavefront. That is something called as your optics. That's very, very wavefront is here. So it's a simple thing where you are just taking in a wave, a set of electromagnetic spectrum, and you are now digitalizing it, and now you are synthesizing it based on the perception of the human. So it's still the same old way in how you control an actuator with the same old if else statements, but you're writing at the scale. So there is always an algorithm which comes in and things like that. So what does an allogram stand for? So it's basically an wavefront which you're just going and analyzing it. Holography is a process where you are just simulating the waves in the way in which human perception looks very good. Like what I see in front of me is a mouse, a keyboard, not a keyboard, it's my laptop, which has all the processing units and things like that. And I have my phone here. So it looks to me like a gold. It's an MI phone. Sorry, I'm not rich. So it's always there. So there is always an dimensionality of all these light waves which are constrained and which are being computed. So this is what your holograms are all about. So there's a variety in the sort of way that is theoretically turned into holograms. So if you want some example of it, I can still give you that. What's an hologram? So holograms are this. So it's basically the simulation of your entire wavefronts and the light source into one different entity. So this is what your holograms are. So that's the definition of it. So what's an augmented reality? Augmented reality is something like you are trying to immerse the digital world into your physical world. Basically, it's a simulation of it. You're trying to get that sort of a compute resource that can start working for you. So it's an immersive experience that you are trying to give. So and digital world now is trying to be as good as in physical world, and that's because of some sort of a computation which is there. So it's still a holographic processing unit that is going behind all these kind of system that you are just taking care about. And to me, it's not about that entire infrastructure that is there in your hand. If you see the GTA Vice City game and the GTA 5 that you have today, there is a complete difference between the experience that you get. Like it looks like some sort of a cartoon or a doodle which is interacting with you. And if you see some sort of a GTA 5, absolutely looks realistic. Thanks to graphic processing unit which just evolved with people like Raja Koduri and other folks who are there in Intel, IBM, AMD, whatnot, basically Nvidia is a leader in that. So we'll talk about Nvidia Omniverse project and things like that, so don't worry about that. So the lack and the fast enough the lightweight tools that we had, because back then when I see a lot of tools which are coming up today, there is a huge set of demand that is going through. Like you need that kind of a demand in your entire infrastructure. What do you do next? There is always a need for you to try to write a light software which does heavy load lifting. Left and shift happens seamlessly, and you need not have to worry about it. So, a knowledge heavy software infrastructure and use experience. And the user experience. Sorry for that. I think I make a lot of typos in my slides. It's not a problem. And it's very time consuming, by the way. Not everybody can really adapt to a new software quicker. So there are two people who used to do some sort of an programming and they were generating the graphics, but now today it's a different story. So it's a very really tough thing. It was a really tough thing, by the way. It was a really tough thing to migrate from one software to other and have a different user experience and rely on that machine which used to do the whole software builds. So it was not a big deal. So now the components of the mixed reality is always this. So there is body storming, acting, storyboarding. So if you're in, I just want to know how many of you are in places like drama and stuff like that. When you see some kind of a people that who work in the field of, you can say cloud computing, this that. These are some amazing people that I have met in my life that really give me such kind of an insights that I really started loving technology. Because back then when I was working, there was no big deal about technology, like hey, we need to work on this, we need to work on that. But when when will the lecture start? Yes, it already started. So it's all about that. It's all about that body storming experience. Like how do you really simulate the entire infrastructure on your entire simulated environment? So if you take an example of an Arduino that I just programmed, in that Arduino there are a lot of other sensors that can be interfaced, and you can get that. But that information is going to be your digital information. So now how are you going to simulate it? That's the biggest task. And there's acting and storyboarding, different sort of and scenarios that pop up. We call it reality at the end of the day. So you will be in reality and you will be doing all these kind of things. So that's not what happened. Like this is what you should think about when somebody says that, hey, I wrote a program in Unity, I did this, I did that. That should not be your thing. So that's not happened. So back here, it's all about the body storming, the acting, the storyboarding, everything was taken care. So, what is a body storming? A process to make up the scene, to map the scene in such a way that there is going to be a functionality that is going to be defined. Any platform, any feature can be tested here. So, there is always a reason for you to go through all these kind of scenarios and start working to get an actionable input and test the feedbacks from the different code and the techniques. Because a lot of times when we have different set of code, different set of people who are working in the organization, who are working towards doing such kind of an infrastructure, there is a need for you to realize that, hey, this is what we need to start working towards. And AI was always there. So acting in the feedback, making a crucial decision is one of the best thing, because acting is basically something like you are digitally simulating all these kind of components, and now we are going towards like how can you storyboard it, how can you make it start working in your entire infrastructure. So, storyboarding is a mental map to the final show where you are basically saying that, hey, when we are storyboarding, we need to analyze the scene, not frame by frame, at least an instance after the instance. And that's going to be awesome. So this is completely from the Roblox, the layer of metaverse. So today we are behind metaverse because it made the science unique. The experience of perceiving something using science became very unique, and it became very distinctive for the people who wanted to realize that, hey, this is what we wanted to start working towards. There is an AI system which is working fine. So what next? So Roblox, layers of metaverse really started working. So, if you want to really understand what is this, there is an article linked in my slide, so you guys can go there and check out. So, there's a mobile AR, VR, IAPs, and things like that. So, if you can think about all these, you can get to know how much of people started using the AR kit, the AR core functionality. So in many places, there are amazing set of tools which have already been designed, and everybody got to know, hey, this is what we need, and this is what we wanted to achieve using augmented reality. And AR kit, AR core was one of those functionalities which came in to you and they started working. And if you see how many amount of Snapchat users are there, pretty well. There are pretty good amount of Snapchat users who really have rose up in millions. There are 300 plus millions of Snapchat users who still use AR on edge. If you can think of some sort of an application, there is always the need for you to go through all these kinds of application and start working towards it. So Meta is basically one of the companies which are doing something called as Facebook Horizon. Horizon is basically an digital social media that you're thinking about. So of course, social media was digital, but this is a digital world which simulates the presence of the socialization. Like something like you can talk with your person as if he's there next to you by using some sort of a cartoon or a doodle or something. So this is for Facebook Horizon has come into the picture. World Showcase, it's happening there, so do check it out there. So, if you think what does the Nvidia as in terms of market, there are different drivers from Unity and everything. They are now trying to work towards that Omniverse project. So this is an Omniverse project that we are looking towards. So what is an Omniverse app? This is directly from their documentation. Do check it out. So there is a Nucleus Connect kit simulation. There's an RTX rendering driver which is always there. So there is graphics, compute, and the AI which is now taking in the information, churning out the physical world as well as the digital world information. So there is a Git extension which just gets added in order to something like SDKs or the MSI programs or EXE programs, and audio to face, create. All these Omniverse apps are coming up today in order to ease our edge deployments of all these AR functionality much smoother. And in the enterprise and the real world, we are now trying to amalgamate this entire digital as well as a physical world experience. So, in the meanwhile, I just realized one thing that, hey, this is what we need in a system, and this is what we move towards. So, there is always that AI system that is moving towards a lot of changes that is going to happen. So, when you think of a lot of changes that is going to happen, in a meanwhile, you need to realize one thing that, hey, this is what we need for simulating a digital world and the physical world, and we need to give that experience of being seamless in the digital world. So some docs and some apps, I would not be going through all of it, but I would explain what is there in all of this. So this is the mixed reality and the definition that I took. So when I start designing and prototyping what you need, this has been taken care. Sorry for that. So there's a Unity development on HoloLens. So how does an Unity development works? This is there. So alternatives to HoloLens, I need to share this because everybody started asking me this. So one of the best, you can start working towards all of these and they will be amazing to work with. And let me just enter the full screen. So there's 2005 paper which I'm talking here is taking care of all the compute and the instances that we are supposed to be taking care. So it's there, and I think it's basically an mixed reality and the virtual reality software that we are talking here. I think it's going to take a little bit of time to churn out that entire digital information. I think, yeah, I think US may have been traffic increase over, guys. This is actually an Andrej Karpati from Cornell University. Is one of the best researchers in the self-driving car. He started this individual thing called as Arcsai, and everything started working here. And pretty much, this is one of the best sites that you can visit to. So let's just see what's happening here. So yes, so end-to-end object detection with the transformers, where we are talking about the CPUs, GPUs, which are now doing the same old simulation, and you can see that there is an always that understanding that we require towards like, hey, there is always that one object detected there. So how can we really correlate the stuff which is happening here? So it's all the same way how we are taking care of the noise and the things like that. So do check out his paper. And this is one of the example of a periodic table that was being done as an OpenXR component, which was being designed on an HoloLens. You guys can go there and check out all this. Oram is what we have for the gold. So Oram. So there is always this yeah, WebXR kit. There are different Mozilla projects. There is different JField project that we are talking here. So top 9 of the awesome open source projects that you can think of. So I've already listed down in this link here. So you guys can go check it out. How many projects are already there and things like that. So now there are amazing 3JS project, Vue.js projects. So these are some of the projects that we are talking here that we really want to just go and experience. So it's already available as a code pen. You guys can go start working out on all the division. If you know a little bit of web development, you can just catch up with all these. I think this has to start working. So, oh, okay. There has been an error here. So let's see. Another Troy's JS. Not by me. This is from the Kevin Lebron. All right. So there is already an augmented and the virtual reality experience that is given to you. So it blurs. Just see how as soon as I move the mouse, it just gets clear. This is how it is. So right now it's all about you folks, like how do you really want to immerse yourself. So you need not have to worry about like which component hacks where. So you just have to go there and check out which component you require, and all the open source projects and everything has been listed out here. So do check it out, because back then if you require any sort of an application, there is an need that goes behind, so you just have to do that. So I'm ending my slideshow, and I'm also ending my presentation. So if you have any questions, so do check it out here. So thank you, Kartikeya, and hey Vishwas, thank you so much, brother. So I'm ending the broadcast. So if you have any questions, drop it down in the comment section below, so that I'm ending the broadcast soon. So, meanwhile, just go check out the slides that I'll be giving. So, the link for the slides are very simple. HoloLens, right? You know, that is the link of it. So, let me just give the view link. So, it's view. And let me just go to the tiny.cc link. So it's here. So it's I'm shortening it. So let me just do a custom one. HoloLens Vishwas. So it's very simple. Sorry for that. My screen was not visible, but this will be the link. It's tiny.cc HOLOLENS VISHWAS. That's my name. And if you just do tiny.cc HoloLens, my name, are you going to share the slides? Yes, I'm going to share the slides. Yes, it's there on the channel, so you guys can go check it out. So basically in this slide I've already given all the resources that is required for you. You just can go out and check out all the things. If you have any queries and questions, do reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's Vishwas and my name itself. So just do reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll be helping you out with the WebXR, AR Core, AR Kit projects, not other than that, because I'm not proficient in that. Like, I'm not proficient in any of it, but I have worked on some of these components that you said. I've done some courses as well, so I can help you out. So end of the broadcast, folks. Thank you so much for being part of the session, and reach out to me at any given point. So thank you, Sarthak. You can end the broadcast.